The use of herbicide and pesticides in our forest has led to a decrease in our wildlife. For example, our black-tailed deer, bees, and fish populations have been decreasing in size in part because of the chemicals being used to control the pest and plant populations in our forests. A pesticide is defined as any substance or mixture of substances used to destroy, suppress, or alter the life cycle of any pest. They can be all natural or packed full of chemicals. Herbicides are also known as weed killers, are pesticides used to kill unwanted plant life. Atrazine is the same herbicide that was found in the urine of local Lane County residents and also detected in streams designated as core salmon habitat. Atrazine has been linked to such illnesses as ovarian cancer, lymphoma, and leukemia. It is also known as a hormone disruptor and can reduce male fertility according to the Environmental Protection Agency Scientific Advisory Panel. The Oregon Forest Practices Act does not provide a protective pesticide buffer zone for rural homes. Thousands of people in Florence found that out. A cocktail of herbicides will be sprayed adjacent to their public water source and directly onto the streams that feed their drinking water aquifer. Oregon's slack forestry laws permit the use of herbicides sprayed by helicopter. That's different from federal logging practices, which don't routinely use herbicides or allow helicopter spray. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is investigating whether Oregon's forestry laws comply with the Clean Water Act. It is suggested that pesticides such as atrazine and 2,4-D are drifting many miles from where they are applied. The application of chemicals in our forests have very strict guidelines for the protection of the environment, animals, and people that frequent the areas. If the applicator of a company does not follow the rules and regulations, they can lose their applicator license and any funding from state or federal governments. In a long cycle of growing trees that may last from 50 to 70 years or longer, herbicides are generally used only at the beginning of the growth cycle, and then not again except to control weeds along roads. Forest landowners are responsible for between 3% and 4% of all herbicides used each year in the state. Even the basic weed killer is bad for the environment because it leaves chemical residues on what is sprayed. When it rains, the chemicals are on the ground. This leads to the rivers, the tributaries, and canals that provide us with drinking water and fish that now have chemicals in them. Our waterways are being affected by such chemical use by the landowners because there is no buffer between the land and water sources when applying these chemicals, as there is in other states. Water testing by the U.S. Geological Survey found 63 different pesticides and herbicides in the Clackamas River Basin, including atrazine and 3 other herbicides that are contaminated in the water delivered to homes for drinking. By comparison, Washington, Idaho, and California have forestry laws that require buffer zones to better protect rural communities and water quality. On June 4th, Governor Kitzhaber signed the Safe Public Places Bill into law, which means all state agencies will work to reduce pesticides that were routinely used on state roads, parks, and forests, and in office buildings. The law requires that all pest management, from controlling weeds to eliminating rodents, be done in a manner that minimizes risks to human health, non-target organisms, native fish and wildlife habitat, watersheds, and the environment. The state rules governing pesticides use require no spray buffers around streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, and wetlands. The rules prohibit applying or allowing herbicides into bodies of water. Those who apply them are licensed applicators who have been trained in their lawful use. A 180,000-acre section of the Siuslaw River watershed was surveyed in 2009 to 2011, questioning if every clear cut was sprayed by air with pesticides multiple times over 3 years, what the outcome would be in that area. The result was a 99% increase in chemicals sprayed upon the land, with aerial helicopter herbicide spraying coming close as within 60 feet from the drinking water aquifers, lakes, and salmon habitat streams. While pesticide use in a residential setting must abide by pesticide label safety requirements, forestry applications must follow those requirements plus additional requirements spelled out in the Oregon Forest Practices Act. For pesticide applications on forest land, applicators must also comply with the chemical rules of the OFP Act, administered by the Department of Forestry. The rules require operators to protect soil, air, fish, wildlife, and water quality through measures that include avoiding aerial herbicide applications within 60 feet of streams that contain fish or drinking water streams, and avoid ground-based applications using backpacks or pressurized sprayers within 10 feet of those streams. In addition, rules require leaving the protected trees and plants along streams following logging. Off-label use of a pesticide can lead to state or federal enforcement actions and can result in the loss of cost-share funds that have been provided by state or federal agencies. Applicators are also required to avoid faulty, careless, or negligent use of pesticides, including allowing pesticides to drift onto another property and damage crops on other property. It is also a state law requirement that commercial applicators or pesticides, including forest chemicals, hold a pesticide applicator's license. Landowners must notify the Department of Forestry of their plans to apply herbicides. The notifications list which chemicals might be used, but not which ones will actually be used during a certain period, usually lasting 12 months. These notifications are not subject to review and do not require the department's approval. Landowners must maintain records of their actual pesticide applications, but these documents remain in private hands and are made available to the Forestry Department only at the request of the state forester. Oregon, for instance, requires aerial spray applicators to observe a 60-foot buffer zone along fish-bearing streams.